Hello family, welcome back to my channel. Lydia here. If you are new to the channel, welcome, and if you are returning, welcome. Just know that you are not here by mistake, and I pray that this message may be a blessing unto you. So at the beginning of the pandemic, I remember when things were just starting to close up around the world, God had dropped a word in my spirit, and this was concerning sowing. And I know a lot of things, were going on. People were losing jobs and just unexpected things. And so what God downloaded in my spirit around that season was it was going to be a season for us to be intentional with our giving. And so as time went on, I started noticing that, and because of loss of jobs and just the economic crisis, I realized that, there was a reason for that word. And so what I did was I walked in obedience and was intentional with doing that. And so I realized that as I was doing that, God was even blessing me more. And so if you are out there, you feel like, you don't have enough to give and you are holding on to, extending your arms or your hands to someone who is in need, or maybe even just sowing in your ministry, I would encourage you to do that. Whenever God asks of something from us, it's not, to strip us of what we have, but is for Him to see our obedience and also our faith in Him. And whenever, you give your last, that's when also God shows up and blesses you, because at the end of the day, with everything that God does is intentional, and He does it so that He can be glorified. And if we depend on Him, He will always come through for us. Another thing that was shown to me was in a dream. So what happened in that dream was that all of a sudden I started seeing people getting into smaller groups. And one thing I noticed was that in the groups, those people had something in common. Some were on their knees praying, and others were just having a discussion, and others were just seated. But also when it came to like their dressing or the outfits, they were the same. Others had, scarves on their head, more like Muslims dressed up in white, and others were dressed up in black bottoms and pink tops. And then what God started showing me was that there was going to be a need in this season for us to find a group where we feel like we belong, or have like a common goal, in order to get together and have that communion or interaction still going on. Because the whole purpose of the enemy in this season is to separate, to divide, and to isolate. When that happens, anxiety kicks in, depression kicks in, and a lot of things that, puts our spirit down. And so when that happens, that's when the enemy attacks. And the ego and the enemy have something in common when they are about to attack, is to put you in isolation, stalk you until they know that you are vulnerable before they can strike. So it's very important that in this season, even with everything going on, you don't completely isolate. You don't let depression take the best out of you, because when you find yourself in this state, that's when you are mostly weak and the enemy attacks. And I found myself also in that situation not too long ago, and I isolated for a while. But then something, just told me that if you are not isolating to get closer to Christ, then the whole isolation is a setup for you. And so when I heard that, I was like, no, I don't think this is where God wants me to be. And so I went on prayer and fasting. And when I did that, I tell you, that turned around so quick. I found myself feeling better again. I found myself looking at things in a different way. When the enemy attacks you, his whole intention is to make the very small thing which is your problem, magnified. And so at that moment, you forget about anything else that might be going positively. You get blinded from seeing anything good. All you see is the problem, and then you feel like the whole world is literally crashing down on you. And so what do? Then all kinds of thoughts start coming in, telling you how much of a loser you are. So as Christians, it's very important that in this season we get suited up with our armor and ready to fight. But if you are going to allow yourself to be distracted, then just know that in this season, it's gonna be very rough for you. As a soldier, you cannot be relaxed or poised. You always have to be suited up and ready to go to war when it calls for that. We have to always pray. We have to stay in faith, and we have to use the weapon that God has given us, which is His Word. And so as a soldier of Christ, you are not going to sit back and wait for things to get worse for you to feel like you have to go to war. If you found this video helpful, share it with someone so that they can also benefit from it. I love you guys. Stay strong and stay in the Word. Bye bye until next time.